1. This is far from the worst separate check story I have, but it happened today, and I'm going to get it off my chest. At a party of 10, and since most tables seat 6 comfortably, and the majority of our tables or booths are bolted to the ground, this party took 2 booths next to each other. One was in my section, and one was in my friend's and the section next to me. We'll call my 5-top table 1 and his table 2. 5 people at each table. We start serving them, and halfway through they explain their separate check situation. 4 checks at each table, so that's 8 total. Whatever. I separate them and he does the same. Then the manager tells me he's transferring me their cocktail check that they got in the front while waiting for the table. I'm able to look at the drinks they have in front of them and separate it properly. But some of the drinks are from table 2. We decide we'll combine it at the end. He'll drop his checks and close them, so we can add his table's cocktails. Then transfer me the whole check so that my and our proper names can be on their checks. While refilling the water on table 2, one of the guests tells me she wants to take care of the gentleman's check at table 1. Okay, we figure we'll add man from table 1's items to lady who wants to pay for him at table 2 at the end when we add the cocktails. I check on my other tables when my friend approaches me. Apparently they want to combine everything and drop it to one guy who they're paying for as a joke. Then separate everything again and do their 8 separate checks. I know they probably didn't realize what a complete pain in the butt they were, just are you serious? All of that just to combine it for a joke, then separate it again after leaving your cocktail tab? So we did that. Wow, so funny, great joke. Then I send the whole check to him. He reseparates his checks, adds the dude from table 1's items, and adds and separates his cocktails, drops his checks, and gets payment. Then he sends the check to me, and I do the same, adding cocktails and finally dropping their 4 separate checks. By the way, their total amount for table 1, comparable, close in size to table 2, wasn't even $200. I had another 5 2 tables down with children whose check was $400 and tipped $150. These people who make it so complicated are never worth it. But still do it all with a smile no matter what, because that's my job, and honestly, I love it for the most part. But I didn't love that. That was pretty annoying. Also, one of the guests from table 1 left their card. I ran out after them and caught them to give it to them. Literally a minute later, my other 5-top left their sunglasses, and I ran out after them, and the party of 10 was still there, and was able to point which car my other party had gotten in. On my way back to the restaurant, the party of 10 said, "Wow, they don't pay you enough." Don't I know it. I love catching people who left stuff, though. They're usually super appreciative, and it sucks so much leaving something at a restaurant. Okay, rant over. 2. Well, have I got a doozy for you guys? And I want to know your thoughts on this scenario, as it's never happened to me before. I manage a suburban pub. Usually I float between sections, putting out fires on busy nights, and helping everything run smoothly as possible when we're slammed. Bar, floor, bussing, bar backing, etc. Last weekend we had a busy Saturday night with many patrons coming in after a sports event. Many were regulars and the vibes were generally good, staff and customers alike. Until the patron for the story, I'm going to call her bitch customer, BC for short, completely flipped out. As the bar was pretty well managed this night, I spent the majority of my time running floor, clearing tables and running food, etc. And after a few hours, I pop back to the bar to have a quick breather and have a drink of water. At this time, one of my bartenders confers with me that they have cut off BC, as she was swaying, getting a little rowdy, jumping from table to table, chatting to a lot of different patrons, some who have no idea who she is and why she is talking to them, and being a nuisance. Harmless enough, and she was in with a group of friends who did seem to be keeping an eye on her. Fine, whatever. It's getting to the point of the night that people are starting to make moves. She'll be out of the way soon enough with her mates. After closing the outside section, I walk past the table where she is sitting, and as I glance in her direction, she has her entire butt out for the bar to see. Her dress appears to have ridden up. I drop off what I have in my hands to the bar, and talk to the bartenders to confirm she had not been served any more since our last convo, and explained why I was asking. One of them, who had built a rapport and served her final drink of the night, offered to pop over and have a chat, as I'd no interaction with her over the night. I took them up on the offer and thought it would be nice since I would just be a random telling her her butt is out. Not ideal. After this, no issues. For now. The bar was dwindling down, and as the floor was pretty much sorted, I was helping the bartenders close the bar. It's not a small task on a busy night, many glasses to polish. I saw her approach the bar and speak with one bartender, who gave her a water, confirmed he was not serving her, and it was time to head home. She then rounded on the bartender, the one who had told her her dress had ridden up, and was again denied service. But when she was demanding why, he took the time to explain that she had been cut off and that it was an executive call from the venue team. Cue the rant. This is the moment BC got her charming nickname. She blew up at this bartender, cursing and threatening that she knows the owner and she's been coming here for years. At one point, she honed in on the dress situation and started to focus on it, and exploded and gestured to her arm tattoo saying, "You know what this is? This means I've been assaulted." At this point, the bartender apologized again and reiterated that it was time for her to go, and she was not being served. They then had to walk away, shaken. Then it was my turn. She rounded on me, and asked my name, and I regretfully gave it to her. The first words to come out of her mouth were, "Am I being too provocative?" with air quotes. Honestly, it wasn't the direction I thought her questioning was going to take. I paused because I was hella confused and asked what she meant, and she just repeated herself. I said if she was referring to the dress situation, it was me who spotted it initially, but it was that lack of personal awareness and a few other contributing factors that led up to the call to cut her off this evening. I then said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not going to serve her either." And like the bartenders had said, it was time for her to head home. I finished the task I was doing and walked a few meters away to inform the other bartender of the section and to ask where her friends are and who they were when, from the end of the bar she was standing, she let out a screech, "Did you hear that? I hope he called me a slut!" I thought I was hearing things. What the hell? No, I didn't. She repeated herself again, loudly, to the three poor people leaning on the bar, and all of them just tried to avoid eye contact with this crazy lady. Fortunately, a friend swooped in, and after she screeched about 3 more times to them, they dragged her outside and I assume sent her home. They later apologized for her behavior, and said she was going through some stuff. Whatever, fine, everyone has a bad night. And she's out of my hair and hopefully too embarrassed to come back for a long time. Wishful thinking. Turns out she does know my boss, and as she was sitting crying outside, waiting for an Uber to take her home, she tried calling and messaging and FaceTiming him with multiple messages of, "You need to fire OP," and follow-up messages of how I slut-shamed her and was sending multiple derogatory comments her way. Fortunately, my boss is on my side and knows her and how absolutely insane she is. Fortunately, I have incident reports from my staff to corroborate her being psychotic at the end of the night. What I'm thinking, though, is, A, what if she said these kinds of accusations and slander at a venue where employers are less supportive? And B, she picked a man, not me, a woman, to have supposedly made these fictitious slut-shaming slurs. A professional career would have been entirely destroyed. Why are people like this? 3. So set the scene. I work graveyard at the only place in my town that's 24/7 besides Denny's. Graveyard is 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., me and one cook. We're also kinda unique. Our building is an old converted house. Half is 8 booths, then the other half-ish is 15 bar tables. So we're a diner with some special cocktails, and we do everything locally. Smoke our own meat, etc., huge portions. There's a half wall dividing the two sections that we stock a big pile of napkins and a water pitcher on. We have a main entrance, and then a walk-up window because we also have picnic tables and do ice cream and milkshakes. The window has a doorbell for dashers, or walk-up folks. During the day, the waitresses won't deal with dashers. They have a busser that specifically does all the Dash, Uber, Grubhub at night. The doorbell is awesome because I'm cleaning, stocking, etc., so I can hear you immediately. We also have a huge sign in the lobby that says, "Please wait to be seated," with a side note that says, "Delivery drivers and to-go orders, please wait here." Anywho, we got a rush at like 1 a.m. last Tuesday. I've got a 6-top, 5 2-tops, and 2 guys at the bar. We also get 11 DoorDash orders, which are labor-intensive for me. Milkshakes, flavored milks, and lemonades, desserts, etc., plus my tables are drinking. So I'm making margaritas, and Bloody Marys, and martinis, and old-fashioned. Doorbell rings twice. It's 2 DoorDashers. I've seen before. I tell them it'll be out in a minute. It's just me and the cook. They're cool. Every time I walk by the window, I say, "Just another minute, coming soon." And they're cool, but I know time is money, and we're all in the service industry, so we got each other's backs, you know? On to the point. First order is up, so I have the 2 bags in one hand and go to the bar to make the strawberry lemonade to go with it. I don't make it ahead because even though I don't make my money off these orders, I still have pride, you know? Anywho, there's a dude standing there. "Hi there, how can I help you?" He shoves his phone in my face. "I have an order for Daniel." Okay. I told you guys I'd bring it out as soon as it was ready. I've said that like 3 times. Please be patient. "You've never spoken to me. You don't have to get an attitude with me. I'm just asking a question. There are 2 other drivers out there, so I came in." In my brain, why didn't you ask the other dashers? Also, your order is like 5th in the queue, but whatever. So out loud I say, "Well, sorry, it's just me and the one cook. So we're going as fast as we can, and I'll bring it out to you as soon as it's up. But I also have people here I have to take care of." Continuing his rant about my attitude, "Dudes, I'm a bubbly blonde ray of sunshine, but don't come at me like that, and I'll use my mom voice on you right quick." Okay. Then I walked away because I had like 18 other things to do. So I deliver the order to DoorDasher number 1, and then go into the dining room to take an order from one of my booths. The dining room is covered in napkins, so I'm thinking one of our fans, our AC isn't the best, got moved or something. Nope. This dude knocked like 400 napkins off the ledge as he exited. So, I discovered I can block drivers at night. My 2 regulars at the bar asked for his name so they could complain to DoorDash on my behalf. So I know I did the right thing, but like seriously, it just made me sad. Like we're all in the service industry together? 4. So today was for sure a day. I got informed I would be working a full shift, so open to close, which is over 10 hours, yesterday, 10 to 8. I then got informed we would have consecutive party of 25 children and 50 adults for a funeral back-to-back, having to re-prep the whole place between them because we only have capacity for about 40 people inside, plus some 15 places outside. Of course, while still getting normal customers, thankfully people only really came in at lunch, and a few people in the evening for drinks. Oh yeah, and half our drinks on tap were out, and one of our 3 foods on the daily menu was printed wrong. So I had to say, the potatoes are actually pasta, they printed it wrong, to every single table. Originally, I was supposed to do all of this alone. Thankfully, before the 50 people funeral dinner, 2 more servers showed up to help. But 3 servers, one of which has literally never done this before, and one who had to be behind the bar to at least have some semblance of drinks going out, no point of sale, handwriting every order, and not even being able to hear what everyone is saying, is just not a good time. Did I mention that in the Czech Republic, most people drink beer, which takes significant time and planning to get to people in a good state, and you could only get out 2 or 3 at a time. So the opening was slow as usual, and then the children arrived. We do have the system for this down by now, as they come regularly, and with a little help getting food out from the kitchen, we were able to do this pretty smoothly. But children make a mess, and we can't have a mess in the house when a funeral dinner is served. So we had to clean this up, while still being open for normal customers, mind you, so good times there. But this was still nothing. Somewhere between the children and dinner, the rest of our drinks arrived, so the manager, owner's mother who was supervising the whole day, long story, he got drunk and broke his collarbone, had to take care of that, and couldn't help with the cleanup and prep. And then all hell broke loose in the scale of our restaurant. I've never felt so overwhelmed when serving as when literally every single chair was taken, and everyone wanted different drinks, and we had to count how many people wanted food by asking every single person, because planning on the organizing customer side was non-existent. This might seem like I am over-exaggerating, but when you're using humans for every step of everything from taking the order, having to directly tell what people want to the person behind the bar, the bartender having to make everything by hand, rewash glasses, wait for beer to be pourable, only to be able to take 3 or 4 drinks at once and combine that with not hearing each other half the time and only having 2 people running stuff, it's chaos. And everything ground to a halt for a few minutes, before very slowly picking up the pace again. Eventually, we got drinks out and started getting food out, which surprisingly went pretty smooth. Something about only serving 1 dish for the dinner and having all of it prepped beforehand. But then coffee time came. For context, it is common for people to order coffee and some cake after their food. Problem is, only 1 machine for that. We had to make around 30. 1 at a time, with some kinds like latte taking around 5 minutes just because that's how long the milk takes to get foamed. While getting coffee out took around an hour. Thankfully for us, most of the people left after that, and it was smooth sailing from there. Cleanup took about 2 hours, and one of the servers left by then, so it was just the 2 of us, with me being the closer, and the other server basically being told you can leave once the restaurant is in a state where we can close on time. Oh yeah, and a girl in the kitchen messed up her nail and looked visibly sick but was denied going home because who's gonna finish her cleanup? So we helped her while cleaning up the front house. Then the boring part of the evening came. I still had 2 hours till closing time and was literally alone there with only 2 tables drinking beer outside. So I just prepped the place for tomorrow as best I could. Oh yeah, I open tomorrow. Well, today. Then I lazed around, occasionally making a few beers, and getting bored out of my mind. But that was my day. Just wanted to share a bit since it was pretty crazy compared to the 10 lunches we usually sell. And maybe vent a bit about the management incompetence at times. Hope y'all's days were tamer than mine. 5. I am actually a host, so I have never dealt with angry customers myself. I've only ever watched them leave. I was working up front when I started to hear arguing between a server and a man who seemed about 50 or 60. This certain server is somewhat argumentative, so the back and forth went on for a while, until the server brought the man and his wife up to the front to me. The server gave me the bill to cash them out and left me alone with the customers. I told the wife, who seemed more calm, that I was sorry for whatever just happened. She ignored me and just paid the bill, without looking at me. I assumed that it was over, and they would leave, until the angry man started ranting to me, still in his yelling voice, about how he was upset over how disrespected he felt. I listened to him yell for about 2 minutes, and while he was yelling, I kept finding pauses in his sentences to respond with, "I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that." I didn't really know what to say, and I was panicking and just trying to get them to leave. The situation flipped when he started yelling at me. He screamed at me, saying, "You're not sorry," and was yelling about how I let these servers treat customers this way. He then asked if I was a manager and threatened to put me on Facebook. And at this point, I was truly in shock because this entire situation had nothing to do with me, as I'm simply a host. I was getting really freaked out and trying to calm him down by apologizing profusely, and I tried to get him to leave by telling him I can't do anything about it, which is true, but looking back, I probably shouldn't have said that. Then he screamed, "This is ridiculous," and demanded I get the manager. Since this restaurant is ran and owned by a couple, the manager would be them, and they are rarely at the restaurant. I told him the manager wasn't there and he didn't believe me. He started pacing around yelling, and I was just truly frozen. He pointed at a random customer claiming he's the manager, and how he's seen him before, which was absolutely ridiculous. He was charging at him, and I frantically told him that he was just a customer, and the manager truly wasn't here. He screamed at me more, and I just told him that I understand how he feels, but I would like him to talk to me in a calmer manner because my voice was breaking, and I didn't want to cry. I just wanted it to stop. I told him I would refund the entire meal, and he could call back if he doesn't see the changes in his account. I should have done this earlier, but again I wasn't thinking clearly because this big tough man was screaming at me. He assured me that he would never call me or come again, and left. I broke down crying afterwards, and I feel really stupid about how I dealt with the whole situation. I think I dragged it on longer than I should have. Sorry for the blurry details. I honestly can't remember exactly what happened. It was just a blur of a lot of yelling. The server ended up coming back to me after they left to ask me what happened. A part of me feels a little upset that she left me to the wolves, knowing I'm still really young and was never taught how to deal with customers. But at the same time, I feel bad for her because she was getting yelled at too. I hate customer service. Hellfreezer's note. This doesn't help you now, but it is honestly the best advice you're going to get about working in the service industry. Do not ever apologize to an angry customer unless you have legitimately done something wrong that's upset them. We don't know why this man was angry. I'd wager you still don't know why this man was angry. I think it's the kind of situation where if you asked him why, he probably couldn't quantify it. He might just be an angry person. But it doesn't really matter. You weren't in the wrong. We don't know if your server was in the wrong. They may not have been. And good for them for standing up for themselves. If a customer is being belligerent, you shouldn't just take it. But when you apologize to someone who is angry, you legitimize their grievances, no matter how petty in their mind. And that is why that man's attention turned to you. As the person apologizing, he felt that you were taking on responsibility for his hurt feelings. And in his mind, that made you a justifiable target for his rage. You were not. His actions were highly unreasonable, and it should not have happened to you. I certainly hope while you learn the ins and outs of the job and you build up your confidence that you don't have to deal with too many more people like this. Although, as a host, I am a little surprised that you haven't dealt with angry customers until now, because more are coming your way, whether it's angry customers leaving or angry customers arriving because they can't get sat when they want to. But I wish you luck, and I think you'll be okay. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 253. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you'd like early access to the videos, support me on my Patreon page. We're also going to be activating memberships very soon, but for now you can do that on Patreon for as little as $1 or more a month. And you'll also find links in the description to my merchandise store on Teespring, as well as my Discord server. Alright, no other business today, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, when the workday is done, do you turn the ringer off on your phone? I understand there will be people who literally can't do that, because they'll have to have their phone available at all times, or you'll have to be available at all times for certain situations. Maybe family members need you, that sort of thing. But do you have a hard end to the workday? And there will be no discussion, there will be no emails or anything until the next workday starts. And if so, do you get any flack from your employers about that? Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Spinning Plates 251, and this was about what decade do you think has the best music? And today's answer comes from Avery Santos. I'm going to say the 70s, since all the cool stuff from then paved the way to the stuff I liked in the 80s and 90s. That's a good way to look at it. Thank you very much for your answer, Avery Santos. And with that, I'm going to head off for now, because I've got more recording to do. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.